Hey there guys, my name is Daz. Welcome to a brand new series here on the channel where we're going to be doing 15 tips to help you with your RuneScape 3 journey. Recently I launched a Hardcore Iron Man series. On the comments for those videos I actually got a lot of people saying, hey, I'm from old school RuneScape, hey, I've never played before, I'm learning and watching your videos and other people's online. And there's a lot of stuff that I think really is kind of the basics of the game. And lots of people are missing out on those just because the majority of the player base have been playing kind of forever and just take a lot of things for granted. So I'm taking it back super beginner to start with in this series for episode 1, but in the future this will be a playlist where people can refer to for hints, tips and whatever it might be. It's going to be a variety of tips from interface to utility, skilling, social stuff you can do, combat, whatever it might be, and even just some niche fun facts as we go. So I hope you guys enjoy. One thing I appreciate about RuneScape 3 is the fact that the interface can be very confusing. If you come over from old school RuneScape where the interface is effectively locked in place and you kind of know what you're getting, or for some other games, I know World of Warcraft is quite similar before you get into the plugin game, RuneScape 3's interface can actually be kind of ugly. So I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to make this less disgusting. So right from the basics, if you press the L key on your keyboard, you can unlock your interface and start dragging things around. You can make your interfaces however you want, and you can have up to 4 presets of your own custom layouts. One thing that's interesting with these layouts is it actually is dependent on your resolution of your monitor or your game window. I can show multiple examples in the background, but I play on 2 accounts a lot of the time, so I don't play on full screen, so I've customized my interfaces to match for the size of window that I usually play in. I personally play with the interface kind of looking very similar, lots of my abilities available to me at all times, my skills visible on the side, just because when I make videos I like people to be able to kind of track the progress between clips. However, you can have it very bare bones, or you could even use legacy interface mode, which if you look in your settings, that will take it back to the more 2011, 2010 aesthetic of RuneScape. So as well as unlocking your interface and just dragging things around, you can also use something called interface scaling. If you're playing on a laptop monitor that's maybe, under 1080p in terms of resolution, you can turn your interface scaling percentage down, and then this will allow you to fit more on the screen. But do keep in mind this will mess with your text quality a little bit sometimes. The scaling can be a bit strange, and also it can make things harder to see because all of your icons will get smaller. But if you've got great eyesight, then I really recommend this because I like to be able to see a lot on my screen at once, but also have a lot of the game screen visible to me as well. Tip number 2 is interface sharing. This is a really quick tip. If you look in your settings, you can actually look up another player's interfaces. You can search by their in-game name, look through the 4 custom layouts they have saved, so maybe your friends, or you can even use mine. My in-game username is DazJF, and you've also got my Iron Man FJZad. So if you see either of those, feel free to copy those interfaces. I play on a 1440p monitor when I play in full screen, and if not, I play like 2/4 of that screen as my 2 accounts, so you'll see the interface sizes and you can tweak them as and when you please. For tip 3, one thing I would say is resizing your game screen using the advanced settings is really useful. If you do what I do and you cover the borders of your game, the RuneScape camera is actually to the center of what you have available as the game view. You could do this by going to your advanced settings and finding the game view and basically creating that to be the space that is not covered by your interface. That means the center of what you see is actually the center of your game, whereas if you have it over the whole screen, your center will be kind of off to the right basically, because it will be behind a lot of your interface. If you're not bothered by this centering thing, by the way, all I would recommend is turning the opacity to 100% on your interface, and that just makes it so it blocks out the game in the background. I personally really don't like being able to see my game through the menus, but if that's your thing, then you go for it. It is absolutely your choice. Okay, so I could talk about interfaces forever, and we're going to have lots of tips in the future, but let's move on to something that every single person is going to use, and that's the ability bar. The ability bar obviously has all of your abilities in, If you're playing in legacy mode, then you won't have access to these, but I really recommend, unless you're just nostalgia driven, to use the Evolution of Combat, the current version of RuneScape 3, because you will have a much better time at all of the bosses and Slayer, etc. But the ability bar is actually known as the action bar. Lots of people call it the ability bar, but it does not just house abilities. This is quite extensive actually. So you can put items on your ability bar. So for example, say you're fishing trout and salmon at the barbarian village like a nostalgia king, you can actually put these trout and salmon on your ability bar, and if you spam the keys that you are bound to, it will drop your whole inventory. So this makes power fishing really easy, and this is like lots of other skills basically you can do this with, so it's really good. Another thing you can put onto your ability bar is lodestone teleports. So the lodestone network, you usually press T on your keyboard or the H that is on your minimap in the corner, and you can access the lodestone map. But if your ability bar is unlocked, you can pull from the lodestone network straight onto your ability bar. So if you're doing a lot of commuting around the map, should we say, whilst we're doing clue scrolls or whatever it might be, quests maybe, you could actually just have an ability bar committed to lodestone teleports. I personally don't do this, but I can see there being a use for it. For some reason in the next tip, I don't actually explain what it is. Revolution is where when you attack, you will automatically trigger all your abilities in the order that they are in your bar, as long as they're off cooldown. For some reason, I just don't mention this. Anyway, next tip. The next tip would be to use Revolution. Now, this obviously for high advanced players are going, no, full manual, use full manual. Right, imagine you're brand new, all of the abilities are brand new to you. Revolution is probably the way forward. There are some great guides on the wiki that tell you how the abilities work, what the best single target and multi-target ability bars are as you level up. I can link that in the description, but they are really solid. I do recommend that you eventually head towards using full manual if you really want to get into bossing and have optimal DPS, which is damage per second. Although I believe in RuneScape DPM, damage per minute, is used a bit more often as a metric. Basically, learn what your abilities do, slowly but surely. If you have your ability bar unlocked and hover over an ability, then you can learn what it does. You can learn the different bleeds, stuns, defensive abilities, all of those things, but all in your own time. It is not a race, it's all about the journey, so make sure you just make it as enjoyable as possible, and for that I would recommend Revolution early on. Also a reminder that Revolution doesn't have to be your whole bar. I quite often just use it for the first 4, maybe 5 of my abilities, which are usually just basic abilities. This allows your high damaging abilities for you to use at your discretion basically when you're ready. Whether in Necromancy it's because you have all of your Necrosis and you want to use Finger of Death outside of it, or maybe in Melee you don't want to use Assault on a target that has only 500 health left, you want to save it for the next target. The next tip is actually a social / skilling tip. So this is the clan boost. You need to be in a clan of a certain tier, I believe it's above tier 6 or 7, in order to access this boost, but there are lots of clans recruiting on many worlds. I personally am in a clan on my main called CWO. I can leave the Discord link in the description for that. Come join us if you want. To access the skilling boost from a clan, you just need to go to the clan Citadel, which is located northwest of the Port Sarim lodestone. I'll put the map on the screen now. You enter the clan Citadel and interact with the clan avatar. It gives you at base a 3% boost to XP gathered all over RuneScape, not just in this area. So it's totally worth doing if you're a main account. I believe this doesn't work on Iron Man. This boost goes up to 6% if you cap at your clan Citadel, which is where you basically do a bunch of skilling activities to keep your resources high in your clan's area. This can go up to 6%, and I think it's totally worth the time, especially if you're doing a long, slow skilling grind. I personally used it on my main at the moment because I'm going for 120 archaeology, and over time, that 6% is actually going to add up to millions of experience, so it's really worth it. The next tip is about objectives in RuneScape. What do you do every day when you log in? What's the point? Well, one thing that can keep you going, if you go to the quest tab on your ribbon, which looks like the blue star in a compass, you can check out in the minigames section all sorts of daily, weekly and monthly minigames you can attend. One of which I recommend the strongest, which is the tip for today, is to go to Gathixian Caches. This is a divination hourly minigame that you can do twice a day if you max out 100 points per minigame. It's super simple. You basically just have to put some stuff into a hole in the middle of the minigame, or turn into the crest automatons and put the other automatons in the room to sleep. I recommend watching a separate tutorial about it, but it's super simple and it is such good divination XP. My first cache on my Iron Man, I believe I got 22 levels just from doing the first cache from 1 to 22. It is really, really worth it. To access the Gathixian cache, you need to go to any divination location apart from the first one where the pale energies are. Most people go to the Falador lodestone as it is quite close to a divination location, and you just right click the hole. Once the hour ticks, it takes a couple of seconds, but it opens up and you can dive in and participate in the minigame. I'd recommend doing this on low population worlds to, max out your points. Following on from that, the next tip is to do wilderness flash events, especially the special ones, which are on every 4 hours. These have a chance at getting a really high value drop called the Dark Onyx Core, which has an equivalent value of just over 500 mil, and the activities at these wilderness flash events are really, really easy. Especially the Evil Bloodwood tree, which gives you lots of rewards. It's on once a day. I genuinely think there is no reason to not go to this. It gives you XP in woodcutting, farming, and firemaking, and is really simple. Takes about 5 minutes. It's a community activity and the rewards can be crazy good. There are other wilderness flash events and some of them involve combat, so if you're a hardcore Iron Man, just be careful going to the KBD and the Worm special events. You need to hit a certain threshold of damage in the event, and sometimes it's going to be hard competing with the other accounts that are in the area. If you don't hit your sort of threshold that you need to get the rewards, then it is basically just a complete waste of time and an unnecessary risk. The next one's a bit more niche, but I found it insanely useful. So recently I've been doing whirly gigs on my hardcore Iron Man, which is a method of hunter in the Hetz Oasis. One annoying thing about doing this method is sometimes you click on the water a little bit away from where you're standing on the platform and your character will just start running towards it, and it is really, really frustrating. But there is a way to stop this. If you open your customizations tab, which is where you choose what pets you have following you, or maybe what customized overrides you have over your character, a wardrobe will appear above your character, and whilst this is above your character, you cannot move. So you can't misclick away from a whirly gig and run across the water. This saves so much frustration and time during the whirly gigs grind. I think this tip is worth its weight in gold. Shout out to the player Pun, who plays in World 16. He's the guy who told me about this on my Iron Man, and he has saved me lots and lots of misclicking, so thank you. Next up, a small tip that a few people commented in my Hardcore Iron Man video recently. The Ring of Kinship in Dungeoneering. This is the ring that the only item you can take into Dungeoneering with you apart from wild cards. This is super important. You can customize your ring by upgrading it. You spend some of your Dungeoneering tokens, but whilst it's equipped, you right click, go to the menu, and you can choose a buff. I usually choose the combat ones on a lower level account because accuracy can be a real problem whilst you have some low level gear in Dungeoneering. In the future, you can adapt it to whatever you want, but I guess that's the nice thing. There are so many options and you can switch it whenever you feel like. Whilst there is a token cost for this, I believe it is completely worth it. Over time, whilst you do lots of Dungeoneering and lots of elite dungeons outside of Demonheim, you will get millions and millions of tokens. So you will not regret this. The earlier you do it, the better, because you'll benefit from those upgrades for longer. So that's my advice. Okay, the next 3 tips are completely combat based. The first one is to do the archaeology tutorial. Whilst this may not sound like combat because it's the archaeology tutorial and that's not a combat skill, you get 500 extra health for free from unlocking the Font of Life relic, which you get from the tutorial. It is really, really easy. And when you're brand new to the game and have 1,000 hit points, 500 is a really big deal. And honestly, even later down the line, if you've got no other relics active, this is a real nice buff and can give you a little bit more security if you're playing on like a hardcore Iron Man, or you just don't, want to die and have your friends laugh at you. Next combat related tip is to do your Reaper tasks. These are a daily Slayer task that can be given to you by Death, who is located in Death's office, which you can access from going to either the War's Retreat area and right clicking on the portal that you get teleported into, or go to the Draenor Lodestone and walk north and you can go talk to Death there. Once you have over 60 combat, he will give you daily Reaper tasks. These give you a boss to go and kill for a certain amount of times. Once you have completed the task, this will give a bulk of Slayer XP, I believe ranging from 7,000 to like 12,000, and that's super useful. Early level, if you've done no Slayer, like recently on my hardcore, you can get all the way up to like 60, 70 Slayer just by doing these Reaper tasks. It's super easy. Also with that is the Reaper shop. Inside of this, you can get some Reaper task related buffs, but also the incomplete Hydrix, which on a main account at the moment is selling for about 60 mil, and on Iron Man is basically the basis for all of the good jewelry you use in the future, whether it's the alchemical Hydrix, which you get from using fortunate components, or just the base one for the Amulet of Souls, Reaper necklace, and eventually the Essence of Finality. These things are time gated, so if you are an Iron Man, you should get on your Reaper tasks as soon as possible, because you can only do one per day unless you have a refresh, but they're very, very hard to come about. So get on your Reapers, and don't forget you can boss with other people, so if you want to get carried through your early Reaper tasks, there's no shame in that. Last tip is to use your auras whilst you do combat, and not just whilst you're bossing. If you know you're not going to do bossing for the rest of the day and you just have some Slayer tasks, why not throw the Vampirism aura on? It's only going to make your time easier. Why not throw the Dark Magic aura on, or any of the accuracy auras you've gathered over time? Auras aren't reserved only for bossing. That aura slots there all the time. If you know you're not going to boss using that aura today, just use it. Just use it. Why not? It will refresh. It's free. Why would you turn down the free buff? I feel like a lot of people I see slaying don't have anything active because they think, well, I'm saving this for later. But there's only a 3-hour cooldown on a lot of these things. And I just realized that I made an error saying the last tip was the last tip. But as cheesy as it sounds, the 15th tip of this video is to just have as much fun as possible and try to avoid efficiency scape. There are lots of players on the game who will tell you the most optimal way to do things, and that is totally fine if that's what you find fun. But just remember, you don't have to do that. You can do literally whatever you want. That's the exciting part about RuneScape and the best part of it, in my opinion. So do what you want. It's good to know little hints and tips to maybe not waste hours and hours just cutting the lowest tier logs because you didn't know that willows existed. But, you get the point. Enjoy the game. It's a massive world. Go explore and have fun. That's the most important thing.